Hello everyone, I'm Glenn Dreyfuss, Bobby Baun, the famous Maple Leaf, our guest. Bobby, we're going to talk about your historic and your heroic 1964 Stanley Cup playoff goal. But let's go back a little further, because as a junior, you won back-to-back Memorial Cups. How did you do that?
Well, that was probably the toughest one of them all. It was very unusual for a team to win 2 Memorial Cups back-to-back. And it was a great time to be playing, and I was quite young at the time, so I had a bunch of old birds with me that sort of kept me going. And that was the interesting part about it. But we also had a bunch of more current guys that also played on that team, and like Bobby Baun and Billy Harris, and people like that. But it was an interesting time, and always. I went to my first Leafs training camp when I was 16, but I also went to my first football training camp when I was 15 to the Argonauts. Oh, and Danny Nicolak and Mike Nicolak, who played with the Barbers at that time. So Mike was, so we were both good football players.
How close did you come to being a football player instead of a hockey player?
Well, I was there. They wanted me to stay, and Danny did stay, and he's in the Hall of Fame for football. He was our centerman, and Mike and I were the halfback. So I thought that was going to be my calling, and then I had to turn to go to the Maple Leafs training camp.
Well, you did your share of hitting, even though it wasn't on a football field. You played 11 years for the Leafs, and I want to read to you what the Toronto Star wrote about you. They called you Captain Crunch, and this is what they wrote. When it came to dishing out a good, clean, old-fashioned body check, few in the NHL did it any better than Bobby Baun.
Well, I must say everything was premeditated in my game schedule. I played the game the night before that we were playing, and I always gave them an opening to the outside. And if they took it, that was their problem, because that's where they got in trouble. Because I always used to say to Johnny Bauer or Sergeant, whoever our goaltender was at the time, I said, I'm going to give you lots to see the puck, and that's what all the goaltender needs, is to be able to see the puck, to stop the puck. So I always give them the outside opening and then shut it down.
And is that where you got the nickname Boomer?
That's where I got the nickname Boomer.
Do you remember who gave that to you?
No, I don't. I don't know how that came, other than I did a lot of heavy hitting, and that was, but it wasn't for my shot, I'll tell you that. Like, as that winning goal that I had in 1964, I call it a triple flutter blast with a follow-up blooper.
You know, all these years later, you could say, no, it was a rocket, it was a laser beam.
Yeah, no.
Now, before we get to 64, since we mentioned Boom, there was a game in Toronto in 62 where someone tossed a bomb near the Leafs bench and very close to you.
That's right.
What do you remember about that?
I was scared, you know what? They scared the jumpings out of me. And of course, I was probably the only Leaf player that ever had season tickets. So what I was worried about was where my wife was sitting, and my tickets were in the southeast corner of the old Maple Leaf Gardens. And I was the only fellow that had tickets at that time in my life, but I was a ticket man for all my friends. But
Well, if that made you scared, that was one of the only times. Because
that was the only time I was scared.
here's what your trainer, another Bobby,
Haggard.
okay, he said this about you. Bobby Baun is a marvel. And he said this because you, one night, took a shot from Bobby Hall, and it was a shot to your ankle. And in the same game later on, or the next night, I'm sorry, when you were playing the Bruins, you laid a thunderous hit on Reggie Fleming, and you were back blocking shots.
Well, Bobby Hall, who was here earlier today, and we just had a chat and a laugh, and I accused him of breaking my big left toe every time we played in Chicago. I swear to God, he ordered that shot, and it was my left big toe, and he broke it. I don't know how many times, but I said to him today, I think it was 8 times that he broke that big toe. Of course, I couldn't make any excuses that I couldn't play, but the old CCM skates we had back in those days, the second day the toe went soft on him, and so because of the dampness. But that was the story, and Bob, he laughed like hell today about bringing that up.
Now to 19